In this episode, we're talking about inspiring and sparking enthusiasm in our students. Katie Acosta and Amy Haney join me to explore this topic. Their blog, sparkenthusiasm.com, is dedicated to building student excitement and general interest in the language classroom. So let's jump in. Are you a language teacher looking for some reassurance that what you're doing in the classroom is on the right track? Or maybe you're looking for some ways to teach even more effectively. If you're one or the other or somewhere in between, you've landed in the right place. This is the World Language Classroom Podcast with your host, me, Joshua Cabral. You're about to get tips, tools, and resources so that your students continue to rise in proficiency and communicate with confidence. Let's jump in. Vamos, allons-y. Hello, my friends. Bonjour, mes amis. Hola, mis amigos. Welcome to the World Language Classroom Podcast. I am Joshua Cabral, and you know I always have to start by saying thank you so much for listening. You're a teacher who is taking the time out of your week to listen into conversations with teachers and what's going on in their classrooms. So you can think about your classroom and what's going on for you, what you could maybe doing something better or being reassured that you're on the right track. All of that is what makes you an awesome educator. So thank you on behalf of all of your students and everyone that you work with for being that incredible educator. But just make sure that whatever app you're on, wherever you're listening, if you just press subscribe or like, whatever it's asking you to do, to make sure that you get these episodes every Monday when they come out. So we're going to look at today's episode topic is all about enthusiasm with students. And I'm saying, how are we going to spark enthusiasm with students? Because we are joined today by Amy Haney and Katie Acosta, who have a blog, Spark Enthusiasm. And I have been following the work they're doing for the better part of a decade. And I came across their materials and what they do quite a while back. So I've been following them through the years, and that whole idea of sparking enthusiasm with students it resonates with me. And I think that resonates with a lot of teachers. And so we're going to have a conversation about that today, because that's sort of the starting point with what we want our students to do in our language classrooms. So between Amy and Katie, there's a little more than 50 years of combined teaching experience. These are two teachers who have a lot to bring to this conversation. And they are teachers in Ohio, and they have done the bulk of their teaching at the secondary level, going through levels AP and IB, even some community college. And Katie even recently has been teaching some toddler younger students going along the way. So they're having a lot of ways of bringing different things that is coming into their classroom and their experience. And, you know, you may have seen them out there in the language teaching professional world at OFLA, which is the Ohio Foreign Language Association, or at SCOLT, you know, the Southern Conference on Language Teaching, and ACTFL and Central States, and all the other alphabet soup language conferences that are out there. So now I want to officially say, Amy and Katie, welcome to the World Language Classroom Podcast.
Thank you. We're honored to be here.
Is there anything that you would like to share with us, you know, beyond, you know, sort of the resume that I do at the beginning to make sure everyone knows who you are? But Katie, anything you want to maybe put in about your language teaching, how you got started, how you got to where you are now?
Amy and I started, I was her student teacher way back in the day in August of 2000. And she and I became best friends. And in 2003, when we were both teaching Spanish 3, we didn't like our textbook. And we said, hey, let's write a textbook. It'll be really fun and really easy. And so we didn't quite write a textbook, but we wrote all kinds of materials for ourselves that we really loved. And then we started publishing them. And in 2008, we developed a website, which we wanted to make it a resource for teachers, an easy place for teachers to come and find resources for all kinds of things, from vocabulary to music to movies. The rest is history.
So, Amy, I'm curious. You were the mentor teacher back when that was happening. And Can you talk about how you connected with your student teacher and how you've worked together all these years?
It's been amazing. We've had, and I would recommend this to all teachers. Really, you need to find your teacher squad. That's one of the first pieces of advice I would give you. This is the toughest job you'll ever love. We always
Mhm.
say, and so you really need those people that inspire you. And Katie is just funny, and she always likes to say she brings the fun. She does,
Oh
but
yeah.
she's kind of the yin to my yang. So where I'm very serious, and I really want kids to go out there and be global citizens, and she kind of balances that with her wit and just being silly. So we found that we work together really well, and we have loved creating materials for all these years. And honestly, I don't know that we would have stayed in the profession for as long as we have if we didn't have each other and some of the other people that we've kind of picked up along the way that are now bilingual police officers and teachers and
Mhm.
interpreters and social workers, and a lot of them, most of them are former students.
And have you worked in the same school together along the way?
No, we've done a lot of projects together. Like her students and my students were pen pals, so they would write back and forth. They would describe, what they look like in their family and their school, and then her kids would read my students' letters, and then we would have them draw a picture of what they thought their pen pal, their mystery pen pal, looked like.
Mhm.
And then so they were interpreting the language. They were then doing something with it, and then we were responding. And then our kind of culminating activity for our pen pal program was they had to do an act of kindness and then describe that to their pen pals. And then we had a little pen pal dinner, and her kids would do skits, and then my students do dancing and singing. And so we did a little group called Live in La Vida Latina, where we would have people come in from the community and they would speak about different topics, health or immigration. So we've done a lot of things because she was at a private school and I was at a public school. So we would do a lot of things that kind of combined all of our students' talents together. And that program has kept going. We've
Mm-hmm.
done that we've added more schools in our area.
I like the idea of collaborating even though you weren't across the hall from each other in the
Right.
same room. You were teaching a different demographic of students and maybe even different levels at different times, but still had that collaboration going on. So it really was reaching out to a larger number of students.
Yeah, Josh, I would definitely recommend to all teachers. Not all teachers have the ability to have student teachers, or maybe they don't have a lot of people that teach languages at their school. So I think now especially there's so many resources out there. People can go to Facebook groups. There's a wonderful AP Spanish teacher Facebook group. There are blogs, there's websites. I mean, there are so many resources. You can have virtual teacher squads, not just those that are in your own building. So I really would recommend to all teachers that they take
Yeah.
advantage of those things, because we constantly need to have innovative ideas, and we need to share our creativity. Sometimes we need to vent.
Mhm.
So, all of those are things that I think can really keep that passion alive.
Yeah, I love using that word squad that you're using. It's people say tribe and different things. I like the squad, your teacher squad. That's great. So now I want to get into this whole idea of enthusiasm with our students. I like to always start from a place where we all understand, everyone that's listening and we're talking about, that we're all coming from the same place of understanding. And so when we look at energy in our classroom, and I think that when we say, oh, classroom energy, that can be really vague, but I think that, you can also look at it as like the vibe in a classroom. You can tell if it's a positive energy, a positive vibe, or a negative energy, a negative vibe. So, what's the benefit of having a really positive vibe and energy in the classroom?
Kids read the room. From the second they walk in, they see and they respond to that passion that the teacher emanates.
Hmm.
Teachers can expect a lot, and they're going to see more student growth when they expect a lot of themselves and when they're excited about what they're doing. And they'll know that from the second they walk in. So I think, as I mentioned before, Katie brings that funny vibe. She puts kids at ease right away. They're going to work hard for her. They love her. I'm really silly and over the top. I'm ridiculous. When I know I'm going to ask them to do a partner activity where they're going to have to do, some crazy little cheer or rhyme, or I know that I better be willing to have that same energy that I want from them, because you have to put them at ease. You have to know that We're going to do singing. We're going to dance. We're going to do all kinds of things that you may be out of your comfort zone. So when, they kind of feel that from the beginning, they're much more likely to be willing to do all the crazy things that us language teachers ask our kids to do.
Yeah, I'm pulling the word excitement from what you said. So if you see that the students are excited, that you had said that early on there, that if you can walk in a room and you can feel that there's excitement amongst the students, and that's where that buy-in is coming from, and how much they're drawing that from the teacher, and I think that sometimes we don't fully grasp how much our own persona and energy is going to be influenced upon the students in the classroom as well. Like we can't walk in and expect that if we don't have that positive vibe and energy that the students are going to, right? And that's where you're drawing that excitement from. So an excited student, and I'm going to go back and forth between excited and enthusiastic. I know we wanted to say enthusiasm, but now I'm thinking, enthusiasm, excitement. So what does an enthusiastic or an excited student look like? Like if I walk into your classrooms and I say, that is an excited, enthusiastic student, what am I seeing?
I think it varies from student to student. Amy had a student one year that before every test would high five every kid in the class. And she had a student this past year who was super sweet. And every time he did something well, he would give himself a round of applause. Not the whole, just himself, excited. But then you have some students that love you and love the language and love what they're doing, but they're just not excitable people. I had a girl in my second year teaching. I swore she hated me the entire year. And at the end of the year, I always give myself an evaluation and tell the students, what did you like? What activities did you not like? What helped you learn? And she said, I love you. This is my favorite class. I love everything we do. And I was like, I thought she hated me. Mm-hmm. So I think it varies from person to person. So you can't always take offense if a kid is not smiling and laughing and dancing and high-fiving everybody.
And I agree with Katie. I also think the more that we as teachers celebrate our students right from the beginning, if they know that you're going to celebrate not just their mastery of the material, but their effort. You are, we have some things we teach them at the beginning of the year, various ways to greet each other in Spanish. We have various ways that we celebrate each other. So we do aplausos. And aplausos are just a very soft applause, because I have, kids that are on the spectrum and you want to make sure you're respectful. It's just very soft, but it's in a circle. So everyone knows when I say aplausos, the whole class does a little brief round of applause in a circle. And it's a silly thing to do. Kind of makes everybody laugh. And you're celebrated. Every kid wants to be celebrated. Every kid wants to feel proud. And so I think just doing something that small and that simple. I've loved since before the pandemic, I really didn't know what Edpuzzle was. Edpuzzle is the most wonderful technological tool ever. You can take any length of video, add questions, add teacher input. It's a wonderful little tool you can use for many lessons. We try to keep them short to keep the students' interest. But, I just have a simple one once a week. We check in and see who's the Edpuzzle leader. So we let the kids do them as many times as they want because they're re-listening. They're hearing more Spanish, which is fantastic. And then they will battle to the death to see who is the top leader, who's got the highest percentage in their Edpuzzles. I mean, it's who did the best on a video activity, but they get so excited. So it can be something as little as that. It can be something last year. I mean, it was also a battle when we did our dance battles, and they were coming up with all kinds of themes and activities and intros and cheers when they were done, and just for a dance off. So I think that anything you can hook them with, obviously music is a big one. Katie mentioned, we really like to use movies, whatever theme you're teaching, whatever topic you're teaching, just celebrate their successes. And I think that really helps keep the energy and the enthusiasm going.
The celebrating is moving into this idea of motivation is what I'm thinking of. And it's sort of like with enthusiasm and excitement, I think all wrapped up in there is going to be that idea of motivation, and when you're celebrating the effort, yes, but then also the progress, and what they're accomplishing along the way as well. And just keeping that idea of that motivation in there. that's sort of like the background. That's where we want our students to be, right? So now let's sort of, this is our PD moment here, where teachers are listening and it's like, okay, yes, we all agree that's what an enthusiastic, motivated, excited student looks like in a classroom. So now it's about the tips for getting there, okay, and getting our students there. So what does it look like in your own experiences? Because I think that we can give tips and tools and suggestions, but I think more than anything, teachers listening to this podcast, they like to hear what has worked and is working with your own students. So when we're looking at initiating or sparking that enthusiasm in students, how can we from the very beginning start to spark that enthusiasm in students? Who would like to take that one?
I can do that. I can start, and
Okay.
then Katie will
All
chime
right,
in.
Amy.
So you can praise students with positive verbal affirmations. You can simple as giving them stickers when they do something fabulous. Email parents. I like to do shout outs on my Google Stream to whomever did a really nice job. Let the students know that you notice them and you appreciate that they're working hard and giving their best effort. We have some traditions. We have something called Fiesta Friday. So you can incorporate that at your school, and you just have at least one thing each week that students are going to just love. So as simple as it, we do some technological games, but we do try to keep that kind of at a minimum. But, we use all the same things probably that a lot of people do, Kahoot and Blookit and KimKit. There's all kinds of things. They know Fiesta Friday is coming. And if they've met all the goals that week and they worked hard, then they're going to do something special. And it can be as simple as showing a trailer from, a new movie, Encanto or whatever, or a new movie that comes out, and then ask the kids questions about who the characters are. What do they look like? Where did the movie take place? So there are umpteen things that you can do on a Fiesta Friday. And that's something that kids, oh, you're the teacher that does Fiesta Friday.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that they really will look forward to.
So you mentioned that when students meet goals, they get the Fiesta Friday. Can you give us an example of what those goals might be that they're working towards to then get that prize at the end?
There's not a specific thing. I got pretty good advice as a first year teacher, and I'll never forget. I was working in a building with almost all older teachers at the time. So I was a new kid 31 years ago. And I remember them saying, no matter how high you set the expectations, kids will try their best to reach it as long as they know that you have those same expectations for yourself as their teacher. It's not necessarily an individual thing they have to accomplish. It's, are we all working hard? Are we all doing our very best? And I've never not had a Fiesta Friday.
So it's really looking at it more as a celebration and recognition of the effort and progress that's
We're all
going
working
on.
hard. Yes.
Rather than saying everyone scores this or above, or it's not something as concrete as that. It really is looking at celebrating the community aspect of the effort and progress. Would you agree with that, Katie?
I agree with that. And that's how we do it in our classrooms. But a teacher could make it a goal. Everyone completes all of their ed puzzles. Everyone turns in their homework. Everyone, whatever goal they wanted to make it, it doesn't just have to be a community effort. But we generally do not do it based on grades. No.
With this idea of sparking the interest, sparking that enthusiasm and excitement, the whole idea of a spark means it's that initial, the beginning. It's that initial spark that's going to ignite. But does that sometimes wane, after that initial excitement? And so I'm really looking at how we can continue now to build on that enthusiasm. And I'm only saying flame because of the word spark. I'm thinking of fire and light the fire and all these flames and everything. So it's like you spark it, you've got this excitement, but you don't want it to go out. So what can we be doing in our classrooms to make sure that we are keeping the flame alive? So Amy, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I'll give you a concrete example.
Mm-hmm.
If a teacher's teaching a clothing unit, for example, so the students know they're going to learn some vocabulary, they're going to listen to some stories, they're going to see some videos. How do you keep that learning interesting? Well, I think a really good tip is to have the students know in advance that there's always going to be some way that they're going to express themselves that's going to demonstrate they can communicate about that topic. So they know ultimately they're going to be held accountable. So, and we like to give our students choices. So when we study clothing, we're going to go shopping. We're going to get a new wardrobe, and they're going to have all kinds of things to choose from. And they're going to make their little summer and their little winter clothes. Then the next step, they're going to be presenting their partners in a fashion show. They get excited because they're working with their friends. Then their final outcome, they're going to make a video. They can use TikTok. They can use Flipgrid. They can use whatever medium they want. But ultimately, they're going to make a digital lookbook, or they're going to demonstrate their dream closet. And we're all going to be watching those videos. We're going to, as a group, we're going to be voting on who is most creative, who you would most like to raid their closet. We're going to have to discuss that and battle out, we're going to battle it out in the target language for whom we think is the best. We're going to celebrate that person. And the same thing's going to happen when we do the next theme. So we're going to learn about our house and chores. Then we know we're going to learn about dwellings around the world in all the Latin American countries and Spain. Then they're ultimately the goal, they're going to get to design their own dream house. So it can look like many different things. They can make a video or a TikTok where they describe their dream house. They can try to sell their current home, their actual house. They can market it. They can put it on the market. Try to flip their house. They love that. Or they can get an Airbnb, a virtual one in a Spanish-speaking country, invite everyone there and tell all about it. So ultimately, they know at the end of all of our hard work, they're going to get to do a really neat, culminating project or activity that's going to show their stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're going to get to be proud about that. And we actually have on our website, we have several examples of student work so that you can kind of get an idea of that. We usually start off with making our own video and our own TikTok, and then maybe even having an upper level kid do one as an example, or picking a really great one from last year's kids so they kind of get an idea. But I think it's important that we as teachers not only give choices, because kids will surprise you. You'll have the quietest, shyest kid, and then they'll come up with something magical that you never thought that they could do, or some talent you never thought they had. So I think that's key, is giving kids choices. And then again, showing everyone's work so they know that, wow, this is what we can do as a group. Mm-hmm. We are unstoppable. I think, and this is probably the biggest reason why I've stayed, in this profession for all the years and all the trials and tribulations, is because there is nothing quite like watching your students go from knowing nothing of a language to opening up that whole world to them. Mm-hmm. They are going to be global citizens. They really start to get a feel for, this hard work I'm putting in learning a language is actually going to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And maybe not just in my world, but in other people, and I can help other people. And so I think that's another way that, you can really, kids buy in, because they want to be the best people they can be. And that's our job as educators.
So the idea of compelling input often comes up with Stephen Krashen's work, that compelling input meaning it's what will interest students. Mm-hmm. Then they'll tend to the language to understand it. It has to be compelling. But as you were talking through all of those examples, I had this mind frame shift where I was thinking about compelling output, because you had all these different ways that excited students about how they were going to use the language. You're like, they could do the Flipgrid video, or they could do this Airbnb thing, or they could sell their house, or they could flip their house, or they could do something on TikTok. And so I had this whole shift of, they have to be interested in the input, but then you gave them all these ways to be interested in how they can output the language. So I'm gonna be following up and probably doing a whole episode on compelling output. So I may be reaching out to you to have more of a conversation about that, because I just the gears just started spinning in my head as you were talking about all of those.
In addition to what you just said, Joshua, one of the beauties of kids doing all the output is they're going to go and watch their classmates' examples. So they're getting input. And it's a sneaky way to do it, because they are, they're wanting to see what everybody else is doing, which is exactly why social media pulls them in. So you're kind of using that in the classroom as a way to spark enthusiasm, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Before kind of starting to summarize everything that we're saying, I like to look at the teacher life a little bit. And so, Katie, I'll ask you this. We're talking about sparking this enthusiasm with our students and getting them excited. I mean, you have a collective 50 plus years between the two of you of
We're very
teaching,
wise.
right? You're very wise. It's
We're very
amazing.
wise. So
But,
amazing.
so once you kind of get to year 15, 20, how are you continuing to find that spark of enthusiasm for you as a teacher? Because as we said at the very beginning, I think Amy said it, that if you walk into the classroom and you're not excited as a teacher, the students aren't going to be excited to be working with you. So, Katie, how are you keeping that spark going as a teacher?
That's such an easy answer. And it happens to us all summer long. We'll be working on a project, and I'll go, Amy, you gotta listen to this new song by Sebastian Yatra. Amy, you're not gonna believe this song by Jesse Joy. Like the year, I think it was a 2018. Don't quote me, but I think it was 2018. Jesse and Joy put out the song Un Besito Más. And I don't know if you heard the song Un Besito Más, but it's about immigration. It's a beautiful video. And so we heard it and we thought, well, now we have to teach immigration. And just this one song sparked an entire lesson plan about immigration that we were able to do with our students. And like the music of Juanes, Amy every year at the end of Spanish 2 does a social justice unit. And so we took songs by Juanes, like La Historia de Juan and Juntos. Amy, what were the other two?
Unas Piedras, Odio por Amor.
Odio por Amor. And she teaches them about the social justice issues that are current in Colombia, but then she also teaches the positive side effects that people are doing to help improve the problems. And so music is such a powerful thing, and it gets us excited and then it gets them excited. And it's always something new we're able to teach them. Amy, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, I would second what you just said, that thankfully, so many of our favorite artists are just amazing humanitarians. Juanes and Shakira and Sebastian Yatra, and I mean all of them. And so they inspire us. And through their music, I think we inspire students. So yeah, we have a whole list of songs on our site that people can go to. And for any theme, any vocab, please look at the resources there. You are welcome to listen to all those songs. Yeah, 2018 was a great. Well, I mean, they're always.
Yeah, always.
We just found another new song the other day. Stopped everything we were doing and built a lesson around it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems the first thing you said, Katie, was when you got excited about it, you immediately reached out to Amy. Like, yes. That's kind of what you do, which goes back to what you were saying at the beginning about find your teacher squad.
Yes.
Like find teachers that you can be excited about. And I always say when I talk to teachers on this podcast, and I'm so lucky to be able to have teachers willing to talk to me about the wonderful things they're doing in their classroom. It's amazing that I get to do this. And I always say to teachers, the suggestions and everything are great, but I'm more interested in what you're proud of. I'm more interested in the things you're proud of that are happening in your classroom. And that is what's resonating from both of you, is the pride you have in what your students are doing. And that's what I think teachers hear when they're listening. And that's what motivates them. That's what sparks their enthusiasm to try out some of these things, because they can hear how enthusiastic you are about it. So this right now is the point in our conversation where I want to pull the teacher curtain back a little bit and get to know Katie, or Kate, even. I guess
yes.
we're saying that when we're really close, we can say Kate,
yes.
right? And Amy. And just have teachers get to know, we know you as teachers really well right now, but just, awesome human beings. So I'm going to ask you a couple of yes or no questions, and you can both answer them. One of you answer them and maybe say why, just to kind of get to know a little bit more about you. All right?
All right.
You game?
Game.
Sure.
All right, bring it on. Okay. So the first one, when it comes to books, movies, or TV shows, do you tend to reread and watch your old favorites, or are you always looking for something new?
I reread and rewatch a lot.
Okay.
I've read Harry Potter at least 5 times.
Okay. Mhm.
I do it one and done.
There you go.
All right, so Katie, you'll rewatch episodes, reread books,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Amy, okay, what's the next thing? I want the new thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so interesting, right? Well, opposite on those. Okay, the next one. If there are directions for something, or even a recipe to make something, do you follow it exactly, or do you just kind of use it as a guide and try to make it your own?
I use it as a guide and make it my
I
own.
follow exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. See, again, different, right? For me, I follow exactly the first time.
Yes,
The
I would agree
second
with that.
time,
I might make changes after the first experiment, but the first time I follow the rules. I'm going to read it and
yeah,
do what it says.
yeah. Whereas Amy's like, yeah, cup and a half, whatever
I'm going to
works.
learn the hard way.
Oh, or you're just more adventurous in how you go about it.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, and the last one, when it comes to planning or conceiving of new ideas, and this is really talking about your partnership because you work a lot together. There's that point where you have to have the big idea and conceive of things, and then there's the logistics of making it happen. Where would you put your working? I already see Katie laughing at
Oh,
this.
because
So,
we both
so
have one
tell.
of these.
Okay, so tell me where you both fall with that.
Amy,
I think, Joshua, you should have to guess.
yeah, you should guess.
Who is the big idea
Yeah.
person?
I'm
And who's the
I'm
logistics person?
I'm guessing that Amy's the big idea and Katie does the logistics.
Yes, sir.
Ding, ding, ding.
And that's just kind of organically the way it's worked with both of you.
Yes.
Yeah, I organize. So she'll have an idea for a project that we're doing, and I'll maybe start it and kind of get like things set up, and then I'll shift it over to her, and she'll take it away from there.
I like to think of myself as the big idea person, but that's not true at all. That's what I aspire to be. I'm much better doing what I call the skunk works or the squirrel works, of like the details of getting things done inside. Doesn't say that I don't have my occasional idea, but I'm definitely the more the worker bee
Yep.
I would
type
say this
person.
podcast is definitely a labor of love and probably required both skills.
Yeah, I mean, originally early on, it was the big picture idea, but then since that moment, it's all logistics. But they're fun logistics. I
Yeah.
love it. It's definitely a labor of love, as you said. So I am sure that you have sparked interest and enthusiasm in a number of teachers listening to our conversation today. So if they want to reach out to you, maybe get some of the resources that you've mentioned, alluded to with music and all that, what's the best way for teachers to connect with you?
I'll answer that because I'm the logistics girl. So
Okay,
you can
Katie,
go
go
to
ahead.
our website, which is sparkenthusiasm.com. You can also find us on Instagram at sparkenthusiasm. And if you go to Instagram and just go to our links, there's a music link, and you'll find all of our music like organized by present tense, past tense, technology, anything you want. It's all right there. So our website or Instagram are the easiest places to find us.
And your Instagram handle is?
Spark Enthusiasm, all one word.
Okay, all right. I've seen a couple of your reels out there, Katie. You're a real person
Yes,
on Instagram.
I'm the social media girl.
Before we say our goodbyes, very enthusiastically, I like to leave teachers with really hearty, actionable advice for something to do in their classroom with their students. So if teachers are really looking at this for the first time, haven't really conceived of, sparking this excitement, enthusiasm, motivation in my students, I want to start doing that. What's your advice to that teacher?
My advice would be to first figure out what's the most important to you. So, as the teacher, what's your main goal? And I think for most of us, it's giving kids knowledge, giving kids skills that make them proud, that make them grow as human beings, and making our students respectful and open minded and critical thinkers. So, find those topics, those themes that interest you, that really engage you, and then share that with your students. And I know right now is really hard for teachers. I know a lot of teachers are leaving the profession. And I would say this to you as an old lady, as an old veteran, who's been around for a long time, I would say, please, 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 if you believe in what you're doing, if you know you're making a difference, please reach out and find other people. Reach out to us because you need to keep fighting the good fight. Our children, our nation, we need excellent educators. So please stay in it to win it. Please don't give up. There are resources out there. Please look for them and do the toughest job you'll ever love because it is so worth it.
There's always room on the squad, right?
Yes.
Always.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to come into the Spark Enthusiasm squad today with both of you, Amy and Katie. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you for your time and your energy with me today.
Thank you all.
What are your takeaways from that conversation with Katie and Amy? I hope that some ideas sparked your interest and that you will explore some ways to spark enthusiasm in your students. Be sure to check out the show notes to connect with Katie and Amy. You'll also see a link to sign up for Talking Points, my weekly email newsletter with tips and resources for language teaching. There are also links to get in touch with me if you'd like to work together, either in person in your school or remotely. Talk to you soon. Bye for now. You've been listening to the World Language Classroom podcast. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening so you don't miss a single episode. Let's continue the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at WL Classroom. You can also see over 250 blog posts about language teaching at, you guessed it, WLClassroom.com.